Okay, let's make a start. Hopefully you're in a cool place. But as always, particularly when it's hot like this, do remember to sort of sip water so that you just keep hydrated, as the term goes. Nice and easy, and also in the hot weather, if you feel a bit faint or something like that, then as always, do sit back and rest as and when you need to. We'll start with our usual self tapping, self massage exercise, rubbing your hands together and then tapping over your face. Working up over your head and neck. Down to one shoulder and your arms. On the other side. The upper part of the chest. Your belly. And palm of your legs. So give yourself a few moments to settle into your posture. So if you can be forwards in your chair without straining in your back, that's a useful position, because now you can tilt forwards a little bit, let some of your weight be taken by your feet. But if you find that your back begins to stiffen up, sit back a little bit, you get a bit more support from the chair. You can still tilt forwards a little bit in most chairs, or you could put a cushion behind you. Take a couple of slow, gentle breaths and just reflecting on your posture for a few moments. One of the qualities I feel of Tai Chi postures, both seated and standing, is that we find a way to sit that is supported, that we don't have to strain for that support. And so that lack of strain kind of opens up the body a little bit, and that opening up allows the energy to flow and there's the blood to flow. And that means that heat that builds up in this hot weather we've been having is more likely to be dispersed. And our breathing too, our breath is always warmer when we breathe out. That can start to come a little bit more easily. And when we move, there's less resistance to the movement, so we're less likely to produce heat in movement. So you want to feel that, as well as your hips and the chair, of course, your feet are supporting some of your weight. Your back supports the front of your body. Try not to pull your belly in or tighten in your chest. And as you begin to settle into this and you lose some of that tightness in the big muscles of the shoulders and back and chest, a bit more aware of the spine, the rib cage, your skeleton in general, just building a sense of confidence in the support you get from that. Again, this starts to enable a release of tightness and stiffness in the body. And as we move, that spaciousness is something that we look to cultivate. So when we move, we could use an image like moving through water. It's a very common image. Following the path of least resistance. So don't strain for the movements, but rather trying to find where the movement can flow. So you bring in an attentiveness and an intentionality to that process. So starting going through the various joints of the body, just gently turning your head. Try and have a sense for how far you can move without having to push hard. easy and gently. And then hands in front of your shoulders, circling your elbows around. Another thing that helps that general sense of movement, circulation, is as we start to recognize and build on the ways that our movements connect different parts of the body, in this case, particularly chest, sides and upper back, so that we're not putting all the effort into one part of the body. And then in the other direction. So your hands drop down to your sides, your elbows out a little bit, and just rotating your arms. When you turn your hands to inwards, it's that thumb edge of your hand and your arm that leads, and then it changes to your little finger edge. Trying to feel that at both sides of your arms. Raising your hands up and starting with the little finger edge again, fanning the hands around, rotating through the whole of your arm, the little finger, ring finger, middle finger, following each other. And then back the other way. And then in one direction, around and back. Again, trying to feel that change between thumb, little finger edge. Okay, and then rest your hands and come forwards. So now, slight tilt in your pelvis, so the whole of your upper body angles forwards and more of your weight goes into your feet. Legs are compressed and then expand. And we start to feel that rise in movement, that rise in energy coming up through our body and then forwards again. Noting the 4 stages of this movement, your weight going forwards, settling into your feet, and then the push from the legs, going back, settling into hips, buttocks, lower back, and then feeling the push. So a springy feel through the lower part of your body. You sink down, you settle, and then you get pushed back. So just trying to keep the focus of your attention, something that can be easily lost in the heat, but at other times as well, of course. Turn just a little bit towards one leg, so now you're directing more of your weight into that leg. There's still some weight going into this other leg. and in the other direction. And then turning in your hips and waist, drawing the shoulders around, the head around in a small circle. A circle that should be no bigger than a size that could fit inside that square form between your feet and your hips. So it's not, again, not a big movement. Just feel almost as though your back and your spine are being very gently massaged by the movement. And then back the other way. Come back to the centre, shift across slightly, step out with one foot, put the heel down, lower the ball of your foot, gently press into the floor, but planting the foot. As though you're stepping onto soft sand and just pushing down. Try not to stiffen up in the toes or the sole of your foot. And this time, having planted the foot, tilt forwards again. Change sides. Don't overextend your knee. At the furthest point, you should feel that your knee is still fairly bent, so you're not straining your knee. And then your weight following. And then alternating from side to side. And just notice how your body moves to allow this to happen. It's like movement across and a turn, both very small movements. Trying to keep your body upright, so try not to lean out. When you move across, the move is your hips, not just lean in. So when we move into the main body of exercises, many of those little movements that I've been describing, the rotation in your arms, and shift of the waist and so on and so forth, will be there kind of a little bit beneath the surface, but very influential in the movement. Shift my position. Okay, so let your hands drop down and again turn your hands palm forwards. Starting with your weight moving forwards, your arms just hanging from your shoulders and rotating. So this is third pose of twins. Remember, not straining. You are trying to get a sense of that flowing quality of movement. Moving through water or moving like water. This time leaving your hands facing back, just letting your arms swing from your shoulders Going forwards as you settle in your feet, your arms coming through, fisherman casting that. So for much of this exercise, I'll just show you with one hand, we'll put the back of the chair there. See how my arm is behind, so as I settle into my feet, the arm swings through. Same thing going back, as I settle back into my hips, the arm swings through. As though you were in water, and the pressure of the water holds the arm back. So not swinging the arm. And again, if you can imagine, if the image of moving through water is a good one for you, there'd be this change between the front and back of your arms, denser, fuller feeling in the back of the arms as you go forwards, and then in the front of the arms as you go back. So again, becoming more aware of these small changes within the body, changes that over a period of time we're able to bring a very subtle intentionality to. The building blocks of bigger movements, and often the areas of movement, areas of the body, aspects of the body that are most directly linked in to aspects of our minds. This time, arms out in front, and as you come back, imagine as your arms are draped over a ball, so you just roll the ball back. So you notice again, when you get that push from the feet, that rising movement through belly, solar plexus, chest, you may find that that movement seems to be like a wave coming up underneath your arms, maybe pushing them up a little bit further. So we don't necessarily have to raise the arms more. What we don't want to do here is when we get to here, try and lift them. It's a drawing back. Giving space for, again, these small movements, these small subtle processes within the body to begin to influence the movement. Turning your hands palm in, drawing them apart. Pigeon spreads its wings. Feeling the connection in your chest and ribs, the upper back. So your weight moving. The transfer of your weight is one of the driving forces for these movements. One of the most important ones, the sense of the movement, the energy arising from the ground, arising as a result of that dropping feeling into our feet and our hips as our centre of gravity drops, rooting down. So, rooting down, we can think of three aspects, I suppose you could call them, three outcomes perhaps. One is maybe not so obvious in the chair, but because there's an intentionality and an awareness here, it kind of draws a portion of your mind to the ground, so literally grounded. Often we can get a sense of space, a sense of stillness, calmness, is that grounded? When we're standing, in particular, the lower our centre of gravity, the lower our root, the more stable we are. And as we're discovering here, that dynamic between allowing gravity to pull our weight down into our feet and our hips, and then feeling the movement that comes out of that. Gives us a sense that the power, the energy that drives the movement is very reliant on the root. Now, this time as you come back, bringing your hands in, elbows still go out a little bit, turn the hands palm forwards, bringing your elbows in gently as you do, and what happens is your hands get pushed forwards and then naturally swing up. This is pushing wave. So now that wave-like movement, that flowing movement I referred to earlier in the class, excuse me, that wave-like movement, pushing your elbows forwards. So we feel this quite strong feeling movement, really from our hips to the palms of our hands. And just noticing that movement up through your back, into your shoulders, down into your elbows. Combining this with the stepping that we did earlier, turning to one side, planting the foot, coming back, draw the foot in, plant it down below your knee as you shift across, and then turn to the other side. So always taking a moment to reinforce that sense of connection to the ground through the soles of your feet. And to do that before you move. Last time. Coming back, rolling your hands into a hollow fist, turning them so they would be palm up if your hands were open, and as you go forwards, rotating so they would be palm down. So once again, we have those two sides of the arm, the little finger edge, the thumb edge, alternating in leading the movement. But the rotation, you want to come from your shoulders. So it's not just your wrists or even just your arms that are involved in this rotation. And it's very subtle, but you may feel here a kind of opening across the chest, contraction in your upper back, and that contracts, upper back opens. And of course there's the forwards and back twisting. Coming forwards, opening your fingers, turning them out, thumb edge leading, and then winding around and coming back to the position in front of your hips, and again the press forwards. When one part of your body is in motion, the whole body is in motion. Perhaps a more sort of accurate way of saying that would be to say that the motion itself is through the whole body, like water flowing through the soles of your feet, through your hips, through your back, through the front of your body, your arms and hands. Clearly, physically, your feet aren't moving, for instance, and, depending on the exercise, there will be sort of lesser or more parts of your body actively engaged, but those parts of your body that aren't actually moving are valuable for support, and because we want them to allow the transmission of that energy. Rotating your hands palm down this time, turn, easing forwards and your hands pushing out just over hip height, turn and draw back, bringing your hands back, polishing the table. So, although you can't see it, hips are very active. I think what I would do is, after this one, I'm going to stand my back to you so that you can see I'm exaggerating this slightly. When I turn, then the hips push back, then they come across, then they drop down, and then turn to the right. And then in the other direction. So you can see quite a big way the role of that centre part of your body, and we want to try and feel that that is still happening. Obviously, you don't want your hips to be sliding around the chair, so I'm just shuffling around, getting the feet back in the right place. So it's a little bit more subtle in the chair, like there's a ball in your belly here, rolling, turning horizontally, rolling forward slightly, and then back, and so on and so forth. One more time. Letting your arms rest and going back to this movement, rocking forwards and backwards. So going back to the idea of the wave flowing from your hips up through your body, down into your feet, and then from your feet and legs up into your body and down into your hips. Moving your body forwards and backwards, alternating in one direction and then the other. So beginning to feel through use of imagery perhaps, or through a sort of really focused awareness, these small changes of expansion, contraction, pathways of movement, moving your body from within as these small changes build up. Now, gradually make those movements more synchronous, so that it's just a slight movement forwards and backwards, but still feeling that sense of what we sometimes call filling and emptying, until externally the movement doesn't change at all. So now it's like you can either think of this as sinking down equally or more or less equally into hips, legs, and then feeling the push up. Or if you like the image of the wave, that the two waves emerge at the same time and come together in the middle, and when they meet, they rise up. One way or another, with that sense of movement, of energy arising through feet and hips, feeling that your body just expands upwards, lengthens slightly, and then contracts. So maybe you can see my head going up and down. This is exaggerated once again. It's felt rather than seen. Alternatively, you can imagine if you're in water and somebody just gently put their hand on your head, push you down into water, then release, then the buoyancy of the water would take over and you'd bob up. But one way or another, we start to generate this wave-like movement rising up through the body and draining away, and then bringing your hands around and your arms so they're carrying a ball and then pressing the ball down in water. You may find that your breathing begins to harmonise with this movement, but whether or not it does is less important than just having a sense for the pattern. The body expands, it seems to fill up with a fresher energy, and then as it contracts, that drains away, maybe with the out breath, releasing tightness and stiffness and that sense of stagnation. And then turning your fingers out, starting the movement, pushing your arms away, fingers nice and soft. This is the wild goose. So that same pattern in movements, the internal movements in hips, feet and legs. Slight variations in the upper part of your body. And then easing forwards, letting your hands crossed just in front of your knees. Sit back into your hips and push up, elbows pushed out, drawing your fingers around in a smooth circle, parting the crowns. To help us recognize those subtle changes in the upper part of our body in particular, going back to the first of these, rooting down, and doing a little sequence. So, of course, the movements have a great deal in common with each other, but they will each create movement within our body in slightly different ways, sort of echoes of the external movements. And again, over time, as your awareness builds, and with it, your ability to bring intentionality to the movements, you can begin to see how these movements, rather than the external movement stimulating the internal movement. It can also work the other way around. And it is the last one. Trying to keep that very deep internal focus, letting your hands drop down, feeling the weight of your arms hanging from your shoulders, and then focusing on one side, pushing your arm up. Dragon plucks the stars from the sky. You wind around with that plucking movement. With the weight of your arm hanging from your shoulders, move your attention to the opposite side of your body, foot and hip. Noting when you spiral with the arm, which way the turn comes. Is it following the little finger? Following the thumb. One more time on each side. And then bringing your hands at the inside of your arm, lightly touch the outside of your hips, that centre part of your body, pushing in two directions. Again, your arms rotating as though for a moment you're just holding up a low ceiling, and then everything contract, bringing your arms back, lightly touching the side of your hips, and then push out. One more round. Lengthening through your back and spine. Extend one foot, this time just let it rest on your heel again, knees slightly bent. Scoop in the seat. Let your hips roll back in the chair, draw on your shoulders. Again, feeling that rising movement through belly, solar plexus and chest. Looking at the sky. This time, as you drop down, roll your fingers into a fist, go forwards, angling upwards slightly, drawing your arms over, grasping the tiger's ears. So here, as you go forwards again, your hands are slightly behind, chest expands and then contracts, helping to bring your arms around. Change over. and then grasping the tiger's ears. Come back, feet underneath. Open your hands together again, and just preparing to go to standing, tapping over your face. Another good little exercise over your head and neck. Can really help the circulation down to one shoulder and your arm. Very simple. On the other side, you don't have to keep to any particular order. Go into the upper part of your chest, your belly, and your legs. And to get the legs moving a little bit more before we stand on them, pushing your heels up. Just remember that your circulation is almost certainly going to be a bit more sluggish in the heat. So these are good exercises to do, and especially if you've been sitting for a while, you can be sort of like almost half asleep sometimes, can't you? So it's good to prepare to stand and then circling around. And back the other way. Good, and then come to standing. So once again, we want to consider our posture, and we want a posture that allows this spacious quality. So the same quality that we find in the chair, but obviously it's going to be a different structure. So you might want to use the chair to support yourself while you're playing around with this. Feel free to do that. Standing with your feet directly below your hips, pointing forwards, or they could be just slightly turned out, and just gently rocking your weight forwards and backwards. The pivot point is your ankles. Feeling your weight moving in your feet. So if I show you with this pole, imagine this going up through the middle of my body. This is what it would look like. Now, if the pole tilts too far, that can happen. And of course, we don't want that to happen. So begin to moderate the movement. And in theory, it's going to be possible for me to arrange this pole so that I could just have it on the ground there perfectly upright, and I could walk away from it and that wouldn't happen. In practice, it'd be a lot more difficult. But if I were to get some guy ropes that you use on a tent and sort of peg them out, then it would help to support the pole, and the pole would help to support the guy ropes. So think of the muscles closest to your skeleton, the tendons and the ligaments, as being like the guy ropes of a tent, your skeleton being like the pole, and just see if you can come to a position where you're upright, where your weight flows down into your feet. And let your hips just drop back a little bit. Notice there's that slight, when I do this, show you my knees from here, I don't want to stand with my knees locked back, I let my hips drop back, it's just a little curve in the knees there. And then let your hips drop down a little bit more, let gravity pull you down, and once again, feeling that energy building in the legs, pushing you up. So once again, rooting down for that extra physical stability, rooting down to sort of quieten your thoughts, to ground your thoughts. And rooting down, giving you the energy to push back up again. Bringing your hands around, and again, this little sequence of 3. change into the wild goose. A steady rhythm of expansion and contraction and parting clouds. Starting over again. And let your hands drop down. Give your legs a shake. Wouldn't be unheard of to find that you tire more quickly because of the effect of the heat on your circulation. They find your legs ache a little bit more. These are all quite common, but it's also important to do some movement, particularly for the legs, of course, because the legs need to move to sort of freshen up the blood, as it were. So good to do these. Now, we're going to do the standing version of polishing the table that we did earlier. When I demonstrate it, I'm going to try and demonstrate it quite big, so I want you to see the mechanics of the movement. But I'm not suggesting you have to do it this much. It's a strong exercise, so be very careful with the knees and your back. So without the arms, first of all, just stand in and turn in one direction. Push your hips back. So when we do this, body tilts forwards, but your centre of gravity stays over your legs. Swing your hips across to the other side, let them drop down and turn back. And then go in the other direction. So again, your centre of gravity staying over your legs. You swing around. As you come to the upright position, still your centre of gravity going through your legs and turn. To the side, you can see I turn, then I push my hips back. But this is not a back bend. I'm still quite stable, actually, here. If I were to simply bend my back, so if I do it wrong here, if I do this, straight away I'm being pulled forward. So this is an important movement. When we lean over to do the washing up or something like that, we risk losing that alignment of the centre of gravity with our legs. And then with your arms following, not overextending your arms, extending through your back, your spine, through your arms, swing across and back. Change direction, polishing the table. Notice I'm also sinking down just a little bit as I push my hips back. But please be careful with your knees. Remember, in the hot weather, your joints can swell up and lose some of their mobility. One more time. And 1 foot forwards. Keep the width of your step about the same distance forwards. And again, transferring your weight. This time from foot to foot, through your hips, through your centre. And again, a moment to settle each time your weight lands in one leg, so you can again begin to feel that alignment. Probably we lose it in between. You might find that you're sort of angling forwards a little bit. Just let the hips drop. As you do that in your back foot this time, raise your toes a little bit. Foot is now angled outwards. When you do it in your front foot, push your back knee in so your heel comes up. So gradually become more into line with the supporting leg. And again, if I show you with the pole, here, when I don't raise my toes and my heel, that's as far as it gets. But when, say, for instance, I push my back knee in, it comes there. So again, I'm coming more fully into that supported leg. And when I raise my toes, the same thing. And that means that we're more stable on one leg. Those qualities in the posture, spaciousness, stability, now being felt over one leg. And so now you can bring your foot in, bring the back foot in, step back, put the ball of the foot down, lower your heel, press in, plant the foot, and move the weight. When you step forwards, put your heel down first, then the ball of the foot. Take your time. It doesn't matter whether you leave the foot up in the air or leave the toes down. And then with the other foot forward, same idea. Really good exercise this for the legs, condition them to get the movement through your legs. And again, the hot weather we're getting, we're less inclined to move, and movement can become difficult. As I said, joints can swell up, circulation can be reduced. It's a very simple exercise just to sort of restore the movement to your legs a little bit, and it will also help to condition the muscles. So a really good exercise for your mobility. Very simple, worth practicing. And then raising your toes and your heel. Stepping in. And take a few steps through, forwards or backwards, depending on where you find the space. Just take your time with each step. Give you a chance to really just reflect on this all-important process of walking. And change direction. Now bring your feet parallel, let your hips sink again, start to turn in the middle of your body, and notice how your arms begin to swing. Swing out a little bit. We've already noted some of this in seated exercises. So here, drop down here, the body expands a little bit, contracts, expands, and contracts. Now, have your right foot forward, so mirror my movements, have the opposite foot forwards. We're going to do an exercise that combines that with the stepping we just did, so you can have the front foot turned out, or you can do it going backwards, of course. Move your weight into either your front or your back foot turn, let your arms swing out, push your back knee in, and bring the foot in. This is called dragonfly skims the water. Take the step through, plant the foot. As you move your weight, drop your arms down, sink into that leg, feel your body expanding, bring the empty foot in, and step through. And again, you can keep the toes down, but if you're feeling comfortable with this, you can just raise the leg. But if you find that you stiffen up or wobble around doing that, then leave your foot down. hips dropping back. Nice and gently. Try not to stiffen up in your shoulders. Again, change direction. Bring your feet out. Lovely. Go back to your chairs. So once again, we've become familiar with the basic quality in our posture and our movement, whether we're doing these exercises in a chair or standing. And as we begin to understand how that occurs, we find that we're more likely to be able to reproduce it in our daily activities. Time and practice engaging not just the body, though that's obviously important, but our awareness and our intention as well. And to finish, let your hands drop down. This is called Embrace Tiger, Return to the Mountain. Because quite often we find ourselves in our daily activities pulled away from the mountain, pulled away from this quality that we refer to as central equilibrium in Tai Chi. The Chinese term is Zhongding. And with central equilibrium, we have a phrase that can kind of embrace all of these different aspects of the posture that we've been looking at. So, pushing your arms out. Maybe you may find your shoulders stiffen up, but you bring them around, your hands around so you're holding the ball against your chest. You draw in, releasing in your hips, and your hands drop down, coming back to the mountain, feeling your weight drop, settling down for a moment, and then starting again. One more time. And let your hands rest. Lovely. Thank you very much, everybody, as always, and please do get in touch with any questions and comments. But for now, just enjoy the rest of your day.